The movie begins with a chilling secret buried in the past, a desperate chase for immortality that led a group of powerful men to a strange experiment involving a peregrine falcon capable of controlling time. That reckless ambition backfired horribly, twisting them into invisible, hollow-eyed creatures with monstrous limbs. Their leader, the cunning Professor Burton, soon discovered that consuming the eyes of peculiar children could briefly restore their human form. From that moment, one target stood above all others: Miss Peregrine's home for peculiar children. In this home lived extraordinary kids, each with bizarre and incredible abilities. Claire, a sweet-looking girl, hid a set of razor-sharp teeth in the back of her skull. Hugh carried a swarm of bees inside his stomach, ready to unleash them at will. An invisible boy wandered freely, often unclothed and unnoticed. Fiona made plants erupt from the ground with a single thought, and tiny Bronwyn could lift objects heavier than trucks. Olive could ignite fire with her touch, while Enoch played God by animating puppets and corpses with artificial hearts. Emma could control the air itself, floating weightlessly like a balloon tethered to the earth. Horace projected his dreams like movies, and even foresaw glimpses of the future. And the masked twins. Their powers were so dangerous that no one dared remove their mask casually. Though they all appeared as children, each one had lived for more than a century, preserved by Miss Peregrine's most powerful creation, a time loop that reset the day forever on September 3rd, 1943. Every night, the children gathered as rain poured from the sky, waiting calmly as a bomber flew overhead and dropped deadly explosives toward their home. But Miss Peregrine never panicked. At the final second, she would snap her pocket watch, freezing raindrops mid-air, reversing the falling bomb, and rewinding the entire world by 24 hours. Peaceful routine returned, at least until the day everything changed. Far away in 2016 lived Jake, a lonely teenager who believed his grandfather Abe's wild stories about peculiar children were nothing more than fantasy. But when Jake rushed to his grandfather's home after receiving a desperate call, he found chaos, claw marks, destruction, and Abe dying in the woods with his eyes missing. The old man used his final breath to send Jake to the very island where Miss Peregrine lived. Moments later, Jake glimpsed a monstrous, faceless creature only he could see. Haunted by what he'd witnessed, Jake agreed to visit the island with his father, hoping to understand Abe's cryptic final message. But all he found was a ruined orphanage, destroyed decades earlier by a bomb. Just when Jake began to doubt everything, strange children emerged from the shadows. Then Jake fainted and woke up in a world he thought impossible. The children carried him through a cave that served as a portal into the past. There the orphanage stood tall and whole. Untouched by time, Miss Peregrine greeted Jake warmly and introduced him to the peculiar world Abe had described. Because Jake resembled a young Abe, Emma quickly grew attached to him, even showing him how she floated like a feather, unless weighted down by metal shoes. During their time together, Jake learned that Abe had once been Emma's love, and that he had protected the children from monsters for decades. But when Jake mentioned Abe's death, Emma revealed she already knew. Horace had foreseen it. As Jake explored further, he uncovered letters, photos, and clues hinting that Baron's monstrous followers were still hunting peculiar children. Back in his time, Jake opened Abe's final letter and discovered that several suspicious people were secretly working with Baron. Determined to protect the children, Jake returned to the loop. When he described the faceless creature he saw at Abe's house, Miss Peregrine's face filled with dread. She refused to tell him more, clearly hiding something terrifying. Still seeking answers, Jake convinced Emma to take him somewhere forbidden. Together, they dove beneath the ocean to a sunken ship holding a secret chest that belonged to Abe. Inside were maps of every time loop in the world, photos of monstrous beings, and the truth about Baron. Abe had been a hunter, one of the few peculiars able to see the invisible horrors stalking their kind. That meant Jake might have inherited the same gift. To test this, Emma brought Jake near a cliff where Miss Peregrine stood watching the horizon. A monstrous hollow ghast crept behind her, visible only to Jake. She raised her crossbow calmly and fired, killing the creature. Jake was stunned to learn she'd been killing the same monster for years every time the loop reset, and now she knew the truth. Jake could see hologhasts, just like his grandfather. With no more secrets to hide, Miss Peregrine revealed the deep history of peculiars and the failed experiments that created the hologhasts. These monsters now hunted relentlessly, craving peculiar eyes to regain human form. At that moment, an injured Avocet, another time loop guardian, arrived with urgent news. A massive group of hologhasts was heading straight for them. Miss Peregrine ordered an immediate evacuation. Jake rushed to warn his father, but outside the cave he found an elderly man with his eyes removed. The monsters were already here. What Jake didn't realize was that he'd been followed. The kindly therapist, Dr. Golan, revealed chillingly white eyes transformed his face and revealed himself as Baron had spent years infiltrating Abe's life, manipulating Jake's journey, and now he stood at the doorstep of the orphanage holding Jake hostage. He demanded Miss Peregrine surrender herself, promising to spare the children if she complied. Knowing Jake was the only one who could see the monsters, she sacrificed herself to protect them, transforming into a falcon and allowing Baron to capture her. But Baron had lied. As soon as she was caged, he locked the children inside and unleashed the hollow gas. With no protector left, they prepared desperately for battle. Jake, weapon in hand, warned them as the invisible monster crept forward. Enoch was struck first, nearly losing his eyes before Jake shot an arrow and saved him. The children fled into the attic while Jake fought to slow the creature down. They climbed out through the roof as Fiona made a tree's branches grow rapidly to form an escape route. But the bomber overhead approached fast. Time would not reset this time. Emma snatched Jake, removed her weighted shoes, and soared into the sky as the bomb destroyed the orphanage behind them. With their home gone and Miss Peregrine captured, the children chose to rescue her. Jake remembered the sunken ship beneath the waves. Emma cleared the water from inside using her air manipulation, and Olive ignited the boilers. With creaking fury, the ancient steamship rose from the depths, reborn and ready to sail. Using Abe's map, Jake deduced Miss Peregrine was now trapped in January 2016. They sailed into a time loop hidden inside a haunted pier attraction and emerged in the modern day. There they infiltrated Baron's headquarters. Filled with towering hologas, Emma exposed herself first to lure them out, guiding them toward the pier for an ambush. While Jake and Emma led the monsters through the park, Enoch revived an entire army of skeletons using his hard insertion power. The children pelted the invisible monsters with snow and candy to outline their forms. When they became fully visible, the skeleton army charged. A chaotic, magical battle erupted, one the hologas never saw coming. With surprising coordination and bravery, the children defeated the hologas one by one. Meanwhile, Baron's henchmen attacked fiercely. Bronwyn was trapped in a water tank, and Fiona used seeds to summon imprisoning vines until the whites froze them solid. Olive nearly died before Enoch, revived, animated a giant elephant model to fight back. The masked twins finally revealed their terrifying power. Anyone who met their gaze turned instantly to stone. With effortless precision, they eliminated Miss Edwards, the deadly half-ape assassin. Victory surged through the group, but Baron still remained their most dangerous threat. Jake and Emma confronted Baron inside a lab where Miss Peregrine was imprisoned. Emma used her air blast to pin him to the wall, giving Jake a chance to release the captured Imbrines, falcon women capable of controlling time. They swarmed Baron angrily, escaping into the sky and leaving him weakened but furious. In a desperate final gambit, Baron disguised himself to mimic Jake's appearance. Emma burst into the scene to find two identical boys, but the hologas behind Baron didn't recognize him because Baron didn't share Jake's peculiar ability. The monster struck, killing its own leader instantly. Jake then fired the final arrow that ended the last hologast. The battle was won, but time itself now separated Jake from his friends. The children returned to 1943, while Jake returned to 2016 to see his grandfather alive in the past. Abe gave him his life savings and urged him to find Emma again. Jake began traveling through time loops across the world, searching relentlessly until he finally reached 1942. He spent a year in the Navy, moved through countless loops, and at last arrived at the 1943 pier, where the sunken ship waited and Emma stood longing for him. Their reunion marked not just the end of a journey, but the beginning of a new one, as Jake chose to stay with the peculiar children, embracing the destiny his grandfather left behind. If you were Jake, risking everything to chase a girl across time loops while monsters hunted from the shadows, what would you do? Tell me in the comments below. If you enjoyed this epic recap, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another cinematic journey from great animation recaps. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and check out more incredible stories waiting for you on the channel.